Hey everyone, welcome to Primary Market Chatter, brought to you by Sunday Investing. This is our August first week edition. We'll be talking about a few companies. Surprisingly, on Mainboard, we just have highway infrastructure, who's a equity play. Then there is one REIT which is coming, which is Knowledge Realty, and then we have five SMEs that we have chosen, which we'll be talking about. CashUrdrive, Bhadora Industries, Parth Electrical, Jyoti Global, and Flysbs. So those are the five companies that we'll be talking about today on the SME space. Before I get started, just a couple of housekeeping announcements that we usually do. One, we are not SEBI registered, so none of our opinion is really qualified. Please, अपना research खुद से करें. This is just us sharing our read of the company, what we have found through whatever research, little research that we have done. Second, if you haven't joined the YouTube channel, the link is in the pinned comments. तो उस पे जाके आप YouTube channel join कर लें. उसके बाद I'm assuming now you guys would be able to hear me because I was not saying anything till now. But let me know if you guys can not hear me and I will see what is the issue. Can someone just put in if they are able to hear me or not?
We are able to hear you.
Perfect. Thanks, Tanmay. Before we get started, just want to highlight that हमने knowledge realty अभी तक नहीं पढ़ी है because there was some confusion on who is doing it. So we'll not be doing knowledge realty today. We will see when we have covered it. We'll try and put a review. But for today, we'll only be doing highway infrastructure and the five SME companies, which is again CashUrdrive, Bhadora, Parth, Jyoti Global, and Highway. And like just say probably starting with the first SME. Rohit is still not here. Rohit will probably join in sometime, and then Yash will be away today as well. He's enjoying his vacation period, which is okay. We are covering up for him. But yeah, moving forward, let me just quickly move forward to cashier drive marketing. एक बार पहले cashier drive marketing करते हैं and उसके बाद आगे देखते हैं. So just setting up the company. It's incorporated in 2009 and specializes in outdoor advertising, focusing on vehicle wrap advertising as mobile billboards. So basically जो Uber वगैरह की गाड़ियां दिखती है ना हमें जिन पे एड्स लगी रहती हैं, CashUrdrive is the biggest vendor for those ads. Ubers वगैरह के साथ collaborate करके उन ads को manage करता है. The company provides marketing solutions across transit, media, digital wall paintings and events, aiming for impactful branding through vehicle-based media in multiple Indian cities. एक बार डिटेल में समझेंगे कंपनी के बारे में, बट जस्ट सेटिंग अप द आईपीओ. इट्स अ 61 करोड़ आईपीओ, 61 सीआर का रेज है, out of which 57.5 crores is a fresh issue which is going into the company, and then there's a very small OFS of 3.5 CR. मार्केट कैप की बात करूं तो कंपनी 230 करोड़ पे आ रही है, सो अराउंड 28% डाइल्यूट कर रहे हैं. फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूं तो FY25 फाइनेंशियल्स रेवेन्यू जो है वो 142 करोड़ का है, और पैट जो है कंपनी ने 18 करोड़ का पैट किया है. सो दे आर कमिंग एट लाइक लेट्स से अराउंड 13 PE, गिव और टेक, which seems decent, at least like they have left some space at least at a high level. We will try and understand who the PS are, how should we value the company. LM की बात करूं तो LM नानोलिया फाइनेंशियल है, the last issue for which was Shreref. So with that, maybe I will ask Sachin to talk about CashUrdrive.
Am I audible?
Yep.
And the voice is better now. The quality audio.
Much better. कुछ तो किया है आपने, because until last time you always used to feel कि voice is slightly muffled, but this time it's a lot more better. Thank you.
All right. So, CashUrdrive Marketing was founded in 2009 in Delhi by Mr. Rahul Khanna, who is an IIT Guwahati graduate. So they primarily operate in transit and outdoor advertising. They offer services like media planning, design, fabrication, all end-to-end services they offer. Currently, they have presence in more than 11 states, primarily in North India, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Chandigarh, etc. Some parts of Maharashtra, as well as Gujarat and Goa as well. And they employ around 90 members in their team. So they operate in two media segments. One is trade media. This is 78% of the revenue, where they source third-party media and ads, and then they use in the fleets that they have tie-ups with. This is a lower margin business, which is around 15 to 20%. The next is exclusive media, that is 22% of the revenue. They get upfront monthly payments from the fleet operators, get the monthly orders for the advertising, sell the ad spaces, and then they retain the differential profit after the operational costs are taken care of. So all of this is part of the long-term contracts they have with the fleet operators like Everest, which is a Uber-backed fleet operator. Around 10,000 plus taxis they have with them. They also are tied up with Electra and Greencell for the EV buses thing. So these generate higher margins around 30 to 35%. Currently they utilize around 45% of ad space in taxis and 65% in the buses area. They do not wish to replicate this with small fleet owners because then they do not have control over the media and ads that are being offered. So 55% of the revenues from the above two segments are for outdoor media, which is billboards, bus shelters, hoardings, etc. 37% is transient and sustainable media, which is like advertising on moving vehicles, etc. So they also work with the government in a revenue sharing model for around 1100 EV buses and 98 EV charging stations. So this is just setting up. It's not yet reflecting revenues, but soon will. So they are saying that for this EV charging station, break even happens at half the tenure of the lease term that they get the advertising space. So suppose they take the advertising space for around 10 years. So in 2 to 4 years, they are able to break even. And the rest, 5 to 10% of the revenue now comes from the print and digital media, newspaper ads, etc. They recently have one 150 diesel bus order from Rajasthan State Transport and 500 diesel bus order from Punjab. So top 10 clients contribute around 60% revenue, which has fallen down from 70% earlier. Somehow the 73% of revenues in FY25 was from repeat customers, which was 47% earlier. But no new customers have been added yet, like they were added in previous years, because previous year's customer addition was around 52%, whereas in the current year it's only 26%. So how are they saying that their customer addition is good? I don't know that. So they have also participated in campaigns like Kumbh Mela, IPL, Viksit Bharat 2024 campaign, etc. Coming to financials, they did 79 CR revenues in FY23, 9% EBITDA. FY24 it was 94 CR of revenue with 13% EBITDA. In FY25 it is 142 CR of revenues with 17% EBITDA and 13% PAT. So this was primarily due to exclusive media, which helped improve the margins, and also due to the reduce in printing costs. So which is for which they are also utilizing the IPO proceeds to set up in-house printing that will further reduce this printing cost going further. Their operating cash flows are quite volatile, around 140 days of working capital cycle, though, and 7 to 8 CR of receivables are pending for over 2 years. So that is one thing to note. Trade payables they have largely paid this year, so factoring in the cash flows are positive, so that is good enough. In FY26, they are targeting around 30 to 35% of growth, similar margins, and expanding beyond North and West India. Coming to the risk, the budget that is allocated to advertising is a risk, and maybe using platforms like Meta and Google will certainly hurt business of CashUrdrive. They also get a small canvas for the ads that they get to show on the buses and taxis. So at times that is also underutilized, and their employee attrition is quite high, around 50%. They say that this is due to the labor intensive poster installations, but I do not buy it entirely. So that is one thing to note. They are also under some 18 to 19 share of tax litigations, which are ongoing for both direct tax and indirect tax. So IPO use I've told for the in-house printing facility. Another 5 CR is for they are trying to develop a app that is technology in which they will be able to uh, track the real-time campaign of the ads that they are getting from the brands using location and picture data that is available. So this will be both for Android, web platform and iOS as well. Around 12 months is the expected development timeline. So that will come in from FY27 only. And the rest 33 CR is for working capital requirements. So they did a private placement round in November to December 24 at 125 per share. That was around 166 CR of post-money valuation. It included names like RTIF, Rajasthan Global, one private equity India emerging as well. Mr. Virender Sehwag's name was also there. This company is already linked with Cranes Advertising. Is already listed in the SME exchange. and this IPO includes a small office from one of the promoters. So post IPO, they are coming at around 13 times trailing. In peers, there is Bright Outdoor Media, which trades near 40 times, but they own 100% exclusive media, so they command higher margins. There is Signpost as well in the Mainboard, which trades near 37 times, which also owns media, but also has better operations across airports, and that comes with better margins as well. And LM is Narnolia. So far, so good in calendar year 2025. All the issues have done positive, so that is good. Anchors were decent. Arth was there again. Minerva Ventures is there. One Nav Bharat Investment Fund is also there. Coming to my view, I will personally be applying, but not too much from the refunds that I will get from CP Plus. So because I was not allotted, so I will personally be applying. But the business does not have some entry barriers. So and is also prone to dependence on one-off events like the IPL and Kumbh Mela, etc. And the related group entities that are there in the business, which are trying to do similar operations like CashUrdrive, is slight a worry, but the valuations that it is coming in is factoring that to some extent. That's all.
I have two questions, Sachin.
Yes.
One, ये cranes जो आपने बोला ये listed है, इसका क्या संबंध है? And how has that company done the stock price, etc.? What is it in the same business as this? How is that relevant? Because I didn't know that. And
Uh,
second, like how do you see the growth of the segment? Because the segment in itself is very niche, right? Vehicle पे कितना ही तुम advertisement वगैरह करोगे?
क्रेन से क्या इनका रिलेशन है कि क्रेन्स में मिस्टर ये जो राहुल खन्ना थे, ही वाज अ डायरेक्टर एंड सम अदर people were also director that were part and that are part of CashUrdrive. So that has done decent in the revenues and profit part, but not so decent on the price part. So that is one thing to note. For the growth of the sector, it is good because they own the exclusive rights for the fleets, and this is not some small timeline rights. It is almost 5 to 12 years rights, and with the coming of more EV buses and more advertising space, it is bound to grow. So sector is niche.
Got it. I also feel कि वो EV buses से अगर कुछ आ सकता है तो that can definitely, like, that is one good point, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like the price is also same as, almost the same as IPO price, right? And IPO was
Right,
done, like, pre-IPO was done 6 months ago, right? So
right. In
there's not
November
a
and
huge
December.
amount of
Yeah.
that. Got it. So again, like, I'm also feeling this is one of those issues which can be applied. The downside is very limited, but then
Mm-hmm.
upside also everyone can look for themselves. I would probably flip if I, although I don't have the money as well. I had put in everything in MNB, so I don't have any refunds yet. So I'll probably skip this, but yeah, I don't see there's any harm in applying to this issue, at least at a high level. So with that, maybe we have covered Cashier Drive. We'll probably move forward and talk about the second company. The second company we'll be covering is Bhadora Industries. The setting up Bhadora, incorporated in 1986. So very old company, like 40 years old. Company manufactures industrial cables for efficient electricity transmission and distribution, serving government discoms and EPC companies across various industrial sectors. The company operates under the brand name Vidut Cable. So विद्युत केबल के अंदर कंपनी एलटी केबल्स का काम करती है. जो ये पीवीसी केबल्स होती हैं वो नहीं होती है. दीज आर एलटी केबल्स विच आर यूज फॉर ट्रांसमिशन पर से. जस्ट सेटिंग अप द आईपीओ. आईपीओ 55 करोड़ का है. 55 सीआर आईपीओ, ऑल ऑफ विच इज अ फ्रेश इशू. कंपनी मार्केट कैप 190 करोड़ आ रही है. इन टर्म्स ऑफ द FY25 फाइनेंशियल्स, कंपनी का रेवेन्यू 111 करोड़ है और पैट 10.811 करोड़ है. सो दे आर कमिंग एट लाइक 19 पी ट्रेलिंग. FY25 में 19 पी पे आ रहे हैं. और एलएम की बात करूं तो एलएम यूनिस्टोन कैपिटल है. सो एक बार अब भदोरा की बात करते हैं एट हाई लेवल. Essentially, company जैसे मैंने बताया manufactures industrial cables, majorly LT, which are used in electricity transmission. And like they started with PVC cables, but then they pivoted to and have moved in the value up in the value chain and now make LV cables, low voltage cables majorly. And through this IPO, they want to move up the value chain further and also start manufacturing some of the HT cables, which are like they are going up from 1 kilowatt range to like 33 kilowatt range. But अगर सेक्टर की बात करूं तो सेक्टर इज गोइंग थ्रू अ ह्यूज ट्रांसमिशन राइट नाउ, ह्यूज ट्रांजिशन राइट नाउ, क्योंकि अभी एक आरडीएसएस स्कीम करके चल रही है विच इज एसेंशियली रिवैम्प डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेक्टर स्कीम मेजरली इन यूपी वेयर they are changing all the cables. So, like how electrification work has happened in the last 5 to 7 years. His first scheme was Sobhagya scheme, जिसमें basically they electrified all of India, and then अभी second scheme which is RDSS, where that which is more of a reform scheme कि अब electricity सब जगह पहुंच गई है, so they are reducing power losses etc, increasing efficiency, for which your players like these players like Bhadora Industries and a lot of their peers are essentially helping. A company जो कि बहुत ज्यादा हॉट है इज ऑल्सो राजेश पावर. इट इज इन लाइक in the same value chain but a different player. So it is a EPC for these electricity transmission companies. वो खुद से लगाते हैं. These guys are the vendor for, like, not exactly a vendor for Rajesh, but a vendor for some of the peers of Rajesh is how you will kind of read this company. This is not your standard PVC wire जो हम देखते हैं ना Polycap वगैरह. Polycap is obviously a big brand, but this is not that. This is your B2B kind of a play जो घर तक इलेक्ट्रिसिटी आती है उससे पहले जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में यूज होती है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. एच टी तो एक बार फिर से एक स्टेप वापस लेता हूँ. एच टी केबल्स आर बेसिकली यूज्ड फॉर ट्रांसमिशन लाइंस विच इज एसेंशियली व्हेन इलेक्ट्रिसिटी इज जनरेटेड to the powerhouse. How it comes, that is through HT cables, and then LT cables are used from pole to pole. जो हम poles के बीच में देखते हैं ना केबल लगी रहती है, that is your LT cables, which is then comes to your house, and then you have in your house all your wiring is essentially PVC cables. So PVC cables is a B2C sort of a model. This is more of a B2B model where you are doing pole to pole, pole to house, etc. This is where this company is essentially in. अब मैं वापस से बता रहा था, जैसे आरडीएसएस में क्या है कि 3.2 लाख करोड़ की वायर्स का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, आउट ऑफ विच 2 लाख करोड़ हैज बीन डन. बट अगेन द सेक्टर इन इटसेल्फ इज सो हॉट बिकॉज देयर इज सो मच वर्क टू बी डन ऑन इलेक्ट्रिसिटी दैट द सेक्टर इज काइंड ऑफ इंजॉइंग बिकॉज ऑफ दैट. अब इस कंपनी स्पेसिफिक की बात करूं तो दे हैव अ प्रेजेंस इन एमपी. Their plant is in MP in Tikamgarh, and they have a few clients. Like, although the names of the clients is not given, but from what I could understand, they work with L&T, with Godrej, with Bajil Electricals, etc. And then they also work with a few government discoms जिनको ये supply करते हैं. And majorly their single plant right now is in Tikamgarh, which is currently operating at full capacity per se. एंड अगर मैं ब्रेकअप की बात करूं तो गवर्नमेंट के साथ कितना काम करते हैं. सो गवर्नमेंट के साथ ये इनने FY25 में अराउंड 10% किया है, एंड ईपीसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स में इनने अराउंड 90% किया है. बट दैट कीप्स चेंजिंग. लाइक that split is not something which you would think ये majorly EPC के साथ ही करेंगे. They will continue to revolve across government discoms and EPC contracts, because usually how the sector works is your government discoms के साथ तुम काम करते हो, that gives you credibility that you have done with this, and you need, like, certain to put in certain tenders, you need to have worked with government for XYZ amount, etc. So you become eligible. So I feel the number would slightly gravitate towards government discoms again going forward in FY26 and FY27. The margin would be slightly lower in government discom because that's a more of a competitive business than EPC contracts, who are more of on a rolling basis, and once वहाँ पे relationship set up हो जाता है, so it's a lot more easier to kind of continue doing that. अब जैसे मैं बात कर रहा था कि इनका अभी जो प्लांट है, अभी टीकमगढ़ में प्लांट है, दैट इज ऑपरेटिंग एट फुल कैपेसिटी राइट नाउ, एंड मतलब क्लोज टू फुल, अराउंड 80% टाइप की कैपेसिटी है उनकी. RHP से 70%, बट इट्स ऑपरेटिंग एट क्लोज टू फुल कैपेसिटी बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ मैनुअल लेबर इज इन्वॉल्व, सो इट्स नॉट possible to operate at 100% capacity. So it is probably operating at its full capacity right now. But the good thing is that the amount is being raised for capex. उसके बारे में पहले बाद में बात करते हैं, बट एक बार फाइनेंशियल्स की बात कर लेता हूँ. सो कंपनी ने FY23 में 18 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू किया था, which went up to 81 crores in FY24 and 110 crores in FY25. FY23 was majorly because of a COVID impact, like the business had reduced, but then the new generation came in, and we also spoke with the promoter once, and I think a lot of some interviews would also be available. But जो pre-IPO meets वगैरह हुआ था, at least उसमें the promoter seemed very credible and genuine and understood his industry very very well, which is a big plus. So FY25 में 110 करोड़ का इनने टॉप लाइन किया है, In terms of the EBITDA margin, around 15% का margin, which is industry standards where the industry operates towards. And PAT margin is somewhere around 10%. So 10% type ये convert करते हैं in terms of PAT, which leads to like a 11 CR number. अब जो बेसिकली ये कैपेक्स क्यों कर रहे हैं इसकी बात करता हूँ. सो दे आर डूइंग अ कैपेक्स मेजरली ऑफ the amount that they will be using, the capex of the IPO size, which is 55 crores, 22 crores is going towards establishing a new facility in Indore, near Indore someplace. And that would be a huge capacity. Like इनका जो अभी का प्लांट है वो 1 एकड़ का है. अभी जो यूनिट 1 है, जो ये नई यूनिट डाल रहे हैं, that is 35 acres of land. They will use it in phases. Phase 1 would be a smaller chunk of the smaller portion of the capex will go live, but they will then put in more, and then they are also raising 20 CR for working capital of the company, and then rest is for GCP. The only question is this new capex would go live in October of 2026. So October of 2026 is essentially 1 year, 2 months away. So and उसमें से फिर वो थोड़ा टाइम लगता है, right? Comparatively when the capex starts pushing in. So it seems like a FY27 or a FY28 story. So there's a long gestation period, but the sector is hot. So like keep that in mind on how you want to play that sector per se. But yeah, just talking about कि company का उसके बाद, so what they are doing right now is the new phase which will go live. This new phase में they will essentially do like this year they are expected to do around 120 to 130 crore, which is a growth of 15 to 20%. But with new plan, they will be able to target more electricity boards, etc. And they will also include in exports. Their RHP says that they will start getting like targeting exports, and they will target more PSUs, etc., which would help them. And the new capex, they are doubling their LT. So basically, जो low tension wires ये अभी बनाते हैं, वो ये डबल कर देंगे. एंड जो एस टी वायर्स हैं उसके लिए भी वो कैपेक्स कर रहे हैं. एस टी वायर्स बाय डेफिनेशन हैव स्लाइटली मोर रियलाइजेशन बिकॉज दोज आर डिफिकल्ट. तो उसकी वजह से मार्जिन भी थोड़ा बढ़ना चाहिए. लाइक एल टी केबल्स में यू विल गेट समवेयर अराउंड 10% तो पैट, तो एच टी में यू विल गेट अराउंड 12%. बट एच टी वुड बी अ स्मॉलर सेगमेंट बिकॉज they don't have experience of going into HT, and they'll slowly and gradually ramp up. And they will go up from 1.1 kilowatt of wires, which they do right now, to 33 kilowatt of wires. They'll also enter into solar cables, etc., which would essentially happen. By the way, one correction: I said 35 acres; it's 15 acres on which the second phase would be. But still, from 1 acre, so they now will not have a issue of just having the land, but capex will still like take cost. अभी जो ये कर रहे हैं उसके लिए फर्स्ट फेज में जो कैपेक्स कर रहे हैं उसके लिए ये पैसा रेस कर रहे हैं. When that capex goes live, that's when the jump should happen, where this new segment in itself, this new factory, which is your 15 acres of land, should be able to add like 300 crores of top line just by seeing the kind of growth that they've been doing and जितना बड़ा वो capex है. But that is something which, as I said, is again FY27/FY28 story. In terms of FY26, they will probably do 120 crores and a top and a bottom line of somewhere around 12 crores is what you can expect it to be. So at 12 crores forward, it's at like close to 16p. अगर मैं पीएस की बात करूं, so इन कंपनी ने 2 पीएस दिखाए हैं अपने. One is DCG cables, which is trading at a lower multiple, and then the second is dynamic cables. If I talk about DCG cables is at 17p, which is exactly similar to this, and then dynamic cables is towards 27p. So DCG जो है वो PVC cables बनाता है, which is your lowest entry barrier and essentially what you use in home. Dynamic cables, mostly 60% of their business is from HT cables, so which is a slightly higher margin business and also slightly higher complexity business. So that should essentially get a higher P. This DCG should get a lower P. So this should essentially sit somewhere between the two of them. So at IPO price, I feel 17.5p is decent. Had they left slightly more, I would have been a lot more happier. But my only problem is there's a long gestation. it's a very good story. The promoter is good, the company is good. It will continue to do well because of the industry's tailwinds. But SME investors would probably move on really fast. So I might be applying to this company, but I would essentially have a short-term view on this where I'll try and max out my listing gains if possible, and then probably come back at the story sometime end of FY25 because I feel FY26 when the results would probably be similar is what I'm expecting. At that moment of time, it would just make sense to build a position in this company, assuming that the valuations are right. So that is what I would do just at a high level in terms of like anchors. Anchor list was pretty decent. FinAvenue was there. Negen was there. Negen ka pre-IPO bhi hai. They've done like 5% of pre-IPO back like a year ago. And then there was one more pre-IPO which was a month ago, which was at 10% discount to the current price, which could have probably been at the same price would have made more sense. But yeah, that is what with respect to Bhadora Industries or Vidut Cable is. I really like the industry. I really like the segment. I like the promoter. It's just that the long gestation period is something which I'm not 100% confident with, and it's at coming at 18p. So not a lot to lose. DCG is at 17. This guy is a superior to DCG for sure, but growth profile उतनी नहीं है इस साल में. And the next guy, which is your dynamic cables, this guy is slightly inferior in terms of margins, etc., and the kind of work done. So should settle somewhere in between is what I feel, but I expect somewhere around these slightly like some listing gains for sure, and then we'll see. And also the segment has good names, and like the pre-IPO has good names, Anchor had good names. So look at this. I would probably be applying for listing gains and then come back to the story. But again, this is a company which I would definitely keep on my track list. With that, that is what my review of Bhadora Industries is. Sachin, Tanmay, you guys have any questions?
Yes, they clarified that in FY26 and going beyond, the current revenue split is around 90% government and 10% private. So they are trying to shift it more to private because these government tenders generally have 3 to 5% less margins. So that is one thing there.
But
Oh, yes.
didn't they also say that they will continue to do these orders of government because that helps them in order to win bids?
Yes, yes, that is there for the reputation making, that is there, but slightly increasing the private segment part to maybe get better margins overall.
Got it.
And also one thing that they were blacklisted in earlier Discom in Uttar Haryana or something. So that is over now. So that arbitration is over and no more blacklisting. All claims are over. So perfectly clean.
Got it. Haven't read it, but yeah, good to know. That's something which I skipped. Tanmay, you have any views on it? Or Rohit, now that you are here, anything to add on Bhadora Industries?
I haven't read the company much, but like only one good thing I like like two good things in this company was I like the promoter. Promoter was very very great, and second is the segment. Segment itself is good, but SME investors are very less interested towards 2 or 3 years view. So the listing gain should be the only criteria to look for at least for next like I would say short to medium term. But let's see uh, how the things pan out.
Got it. Rohit.
No, I think reiterating what you said, very impressed with the team and promoter. Long gestation, so good for someone who has patience. But I think, yeah, you've covered it well.
Perfect. With that, we'll probably move on to the next issue. Before that, just want to highlight that the sound issue is done for now. So thank you so much for sticking with us. But yeah, with that, we'll probably move forward to the third company and we'll do Flysbs. Now that Rohit is here and Rohit is supposed to cover Flysbs. Setting up Flysbs incorporated in 2020. Company is an Indian aviation company specializing in private jet services. Private jets provide करती है. The company provides air chartering service on domestic and international routes, successfully flying clients to destination across 6 continents. And it's the promoter entities. The promoters are same as FCOM Holdings, which is a cargo charter service for service. This is like more of a private passenger charter services. So a very, very niche segment, but very interesting in terms of like what cost it is, what P it is coming at, what is the growth, etc. We'll try and understand. Setting up the IPO, it's a 102 crores IPO, 102 crore ka IPO at a market cap of 389 crores. So dilution is around 25%. In terms of FY25 financials, company का revenue 195 crores है, and PAT is around 28.5 crores. So they are coming at like 13 B, give or take. In terms of the LM is Wipro Financials, which has a decent repute. So with that, we'll probably move towards Rohit to talk about Flysbs.
Thanks, Manish. So yes, as you said, this is a highly awaited IPO, and interestingly, this was the first pre-IPO I think that me and Manish saw, and at that time we skipped for a variety of reasons. One of which was just obviously the liquidity of getting money stuck. This was when we were kind of early to the pre-IPO game and SME game, so we didn't have that much confidence. And if we had a slightly different decision, I think on listing, this would be 4x for people who are, who did that pre-IPO. And there is a whole list of names who actually went ahead and did it. So what does the company do? So they are a Chennai-based private jet operator, effectively for the elite Indian. So this will be HNIs, UHNIs, corporates, for their senior folks, celebrities, politicians, and so on. And interestingly, what they say is majority of their revenue is actually from this corporate and HNI kind of client, not really the celebs and politicians. They operate in an asset-light model. Asset-light means they don't own the aircraft, but even that is split into two parts. You can either have a dry lease or a wet lease. And this is something I understand thanks to AFCOM. But a wet lease is where you are renting out the entire plane, which means you are renting out the plane, the crew, the operations, like you're getting everything, and all you are doing is you are the provider of the demand. So when you start out, typically you will start out in a wet lease model because that is obviously capital efficient and you're testing out the market and there's less risk. As you gain confidence, which is what they did, they got their first dry lease plane a couple of years ago in FY23. Today they have one dry lease and they operate two wet leases. And the idea behind this IPO is to go from this configuration and add another 6 dry lease planes. So a dry lease plane is where you only lease the body, the metal body, which is the aircraft, and everything else is on you. It's on your books. So the captain, crew, operations, like everything is sitting with you. And of course, the idea behind that is you have much more control. You have the aircraft for 24 hours, 365 days. If you have the crew available, you can fly it. As far as I understand, there's no real limits on how much you can fly, which means you can absolutely sweat that asset. And it is also great for your overall margins. Today, the dry lease that they have is a 13-seater, which is considered a large private jet. Their wet leases, I think, are smaller planes. I'm not sure about that. But what they want to do going forward is that the money that they're raising is to go from one large dry lease to adding one more large dry lease, 2 medium dry lease, and 3 small, which are basically 13-seater, 8 9-seaters, and 7 8-seaters. I'll get to the numbers. I'll get to why this matters. Before that, I'll just cover the market. So this is a super regulated market. What they told us is that it takes 2 to 3 years for getting the permit, an NSOP permit, which is a non-scheduled operator permit, which is the permit that is needed for anyone to fly commercial charters. It takes a lot of time. You need the right capabilities and requirements, and then it takes a lot of time to just get that permit. Then you've got to find the right plane at the right cost. These are typically second-hand planes. They're not, you cannot really buy a brand new plane and make the economics work. So you need to find the right leaser as well, which requires a strong network. So overall, this is not a very straightforward market to get into. As per the DGCA record, there are only 120 private jets in India, which is a very small number. And by the promoters' estimates, majority or many of them are for captive consumption, which is just basically a single client. So as per the promoters, probably 60 to 70 are true commercial chartering. And this number in the US is 15,000. Obviously, US is miles ahead of us, but it tells you how underpenetrated we are today. And the other thing is if these guys go from 1 or say 3 to 9, you can see that they themselves will become a significant part of the commercial chartering if they're able to fulfill that. If once they get that supply, they're able to fulfill that with demand. Today for this business, about 25% of their revenue comes from domestic charters, which is say Chennai, Bangalore, or a Mumbai, Ahmedabad, or whatever. But 75% is international. So they fly to some 26 different countries. This is the exact same split for dry lease and wet lease. So my sense is today dry lease handles only domestic because it is, correct to a decimal point, and wet lease handles all their international. Anyway, I think that's just an academic thing. Over time, that will shift as they add more dry lease. Now, for the new aircrafts that they are taking, they've already, or just to give a sense of the timelines, they say that they have already paid deposits for 2 aircrafts, which should come in another 1 to 1.5 months, essentially by August. Another 2 will come by the end of this calendar year, and the last 2 will come by the end of this financial year. So they are confident that by March FY20, that is the last month of this financial year, they will have 7 dry lease aircrafts. Now, AFCOM, which is a promoter group company, has seen a lot of delays. And despite, all the execution, in the case of the airline industry, you have some uncontrollables, which is the regulator, and there will be delays. So take those numbers with a pinch of salt. Now, their numbers have been absolutely amazing. They have done almost 195 crore. This is their 5th year of operation. To become a 200 crore business is no joke. They're doing this with 15% PAT. They grew from 105 to 195, which is almost 80% plus last year. So absolutely fantastic numbers. Their balance sheet is also not bad. Whatever cash flow, so their cash flow is kind of flat, is like close to zero. But most of that, if you see, is just down to the deposits for the new aircraft. So for 2 of the aircraft, they've already paid the deposit from their own funds. And that is why their cash flows are like neutral. Otherwise, it would be 13, 14 crore in the green. Now, their projections. You can, like in a bunch of interviews, the promoters have indicated how much a single aircraft will do. Their estimate is that 1 aircraft will do conservatively around 60 to 65 crore per year. It should be higher than that as well. And when you factor in higher international and the fact that they're going to go into some other geographies, not just Chennai, there are a lot of larger geographies that they are trying. When I say larger, I mean like a Mumbai or a Delhi or a Bangalore, where your realization will be even higher. So I think there is a lot of upside too, if they're able to execute. But broadly, if you go with that 65 crore number, I had done some rough math, and so I've taken a average case and a bull case. Bull case is unlikely to happen, but I just done that, based on what they said. My sense is they should do around 330 crore for this year, with around 55 PAT or so for FY26. And they can do, just one second, I'll just double check that number. Yeah, and they can do, if they get all their aircrafts by FY27, even if they get it by Q2 of FY27, they can do about 600 crore for next year with like north of 100 crore PAT. In a super bull case scenario, they can even do 380, 390 for FY26. I think there's like a 5% chance of that happening. But this is the numbers that I think they are trying to hit, which would be 65 to 70 PAT, and FY27 can be 650 plus. So the growth trajectory profile, subject to them executing, is absolutely amazing. These are the kinds of bets I think as SME investors we look for. We look for promoters who are, growing at breakneck speed, who have taken another company and grown that at breakneck speed. So there is proof. It's a little bit like, let's say, the KP group, right? Where KP Gel came after KPI Green, after the KP Green and KPEL, and how quickly the market valued the third company that came from that group just because of the success of the other 2. So you have that perfect storm of a very, very aggressive promoter with some, proven execution. Even in this company, they've done extraordinarily well. I think obviously it's a no-brainer. There are no sellers at all in gray. It will most likely be a crazy listing. The stock is coming at 13.5 times. Even if this lists at 90, it would be, even if this lists at 90, it will be 25 times. It's a very funny anchor book with Rajasthan Global and LRSD, which is effectively the same person, taking almost 70% of the anchor, 68, 69% of the anchor book. But I understand that they're also close relationship with AFCOM, Flysbs, and have been very early backers of them. So it's almost like AFCOM, I think, don't need to say much. It has been a huge success for several of us, anyone who's holding it from listing is up. So to me, I personally am very comfortable buying this and squatting on it. The promoters have done a great job. One thing to note is the promoters are highly diluted. I think only on about 32-33%. But look at it like a startup. If a startup typically will dilute a lot, but will also show a stunning growth trajectory. And that is what this guy, it's not like they've diluted 60% and are like in 20 years, the revenue is like 100 crore, right? It's a 4-year-old company at doing 200 crore in revenue profitably. So I am very, very bullish on this company. Certainly for listing, there's no doubt. I think this is one stock which people can think about holding for long term as well. One more point probably is that just be very prepared for a thriller minute kind of, if you are a holder, be prepared for a sequence of LCs, sequence of UCs. It's exactly what AFCOM does. Everyone will become a detective. They will analyze how many hours each flight flew, each day of each week of each month. And based on that, the stock price will either do 5 UCs or 5 LCs, as if the full fleet has been hijacked, or all of the world's HNIs fly through Flysbs. So it'll be chaotic, but it'll be, I think, hopefully it'll be a very rewarding ride. So I personally am going to apply and look to purchase this on listing also, with a view to add something to my portfolio.
Perfect. Thanks, Rohit. So you're saying there are just 120 private charters in India, out of which this guy has 3 and is adding 6 more. So that takes up the number to 9.
Correct.
And out of those 120,
Yes.
you would assume more than 50% would be for captive consumption. So there are only very limited players who are doing it at a taxiing model, for the lack of a better word. There would be very few of them, and this guy would probably have the majority share if he's able to bring in those 6 planes, correct?
Correct. I mean, he would basically go to about, let's say, 10%.
Would be higher than that, right? 20. Because
like 60. I'm just assuming he has, like, say, 7 charters with a total of 70 live. That's about 10%.
Got it. Okay. So he's adding 4 now to the 3 current, or are they adding 6 now?
He's adding 6. He's adding 2 plus 2 plus 2. So 2 now, 2 in another 4 months, and 2 by the end of the year.
Got it. And I had also spoken to, I had attended one of the pre-IPO calls back in FCOM days, and I was very, happy with the promoter quality. Promoter quality is top notch. So definitely a lot of interest there. And I was reading one more good thing, that these private routes, jet routes, they would essentially and you are saying there are close to 5,000 charters in US, right? So India is very underpenetrated compared to that. So you see future, there will be some scope of growth as well. And this was also backed by a VC report where I was reading that top 4 routes in Southeast Asia, out of top 10, 4 are in India, with Delhi, Mumbai being the number 1 route in terms of the movements of private charters. And so there is a lot of growth on that segment as well, right? It's a hot segment but my question is, do you feel other players haven't entered because it is so regulated that it is very difficult to get licenses, or do you feel it is majorly because of just not a lot of things are in your control in an airline, and things might start it is a very fixed cost heavy business, right? You need to pay that lease cost irrespective of whether you're flying the planes or not. You need to pay for the fuel. You need to pay for fuel is still you can say variable, but you still need to pay salaries, etc., maintenance, all of those things.
Correct. Yeah, no doubt. It is see right now. This is how I look at it. They are getting very early into some of these segments in aviation where there is a large moat and there is a time-based sort of advantage. So that is their play. I think they've proven that in AFCOM. There are a lot of niches where a full-fledged cargo plane, or things that only a full-fledged cargo plane can do, and not what a belly hold of a passenger aircraft can do. For example, in mobile phones, right? Only cargo planes can transfer mobile phones. You cannot do that in a passenger plane because of the battery. And so the way, let's say there's a Blue Dart or a FedEx. There's only so much that they can cater when mobile phones has exploded as a category thanks to e-commerce. So these guys are finding very interesting, I'd say, timing in niches. You're also a little bit counting on the promoter that, these guys are identifying these trends early. You know that the number of Yash and I rich people, corporates, that ultra premiumization team is playing out very, very well. And they've given a lot of justification in the RHP also of how a first class flight is equal to the cost of a private jet with all the benefits of a private jet. You don't have to stand in line and, the entire plane is yours and so on. So there is a value for money equation here for the ultra rich. So I think we're just trusting that they're catching that trend early. There are obviously business execution risks, but you take a bet on a promoter who has extreme depth in the segment and count on, him to keep executing as he has done so far. It's not even like a bet on day zero. This is a 200 crore company with 30 crore pack. So there is a lot of proof as well. So I still feel there is at least a couple of years. One challenge with this segment compared to AFCOM is cargo is an infinite market, infinite TAM business. Whereas private jet leasing is still, in my view, not there yet in India. So there is somewhat of a cap in my view there. But let's see how it goes. I still feel you've gotten early enough that we are not going to hit that cap in the next 1-2 years. After that, it will probably slow down in terms of how fast this company can grow. If they are 10-15% market share, it will cap how fast they can grow, I feel, at that point, because the entire segment may not grow at like the space. Like when you have a air cargo business with, let's say, a 50 billion TAM versus this with a 500 million TAM, you will kind of get capped there. But I think they have a long way to go as a small company.
Got it. When you said mobile phones have exploded, the image was not of like I thought they literally exploded in the flights, but yeah.
No. That is for that risk that mobile phones aren't allowed on passenger airlines. But I'm saying those are like little niche things that make a difference, right? If you're investing in a company or not.
Yeah, what do you think are the risk factors? Because again, I will go back and say that I'm a beer on airlines simply because airlines you can do everything right and then something can go wrong, where your fleet type gets like grounded for no reason and then you are stuck. And it becomes at that moment of time, it becomes a life or death situation because you can go out of cash flows very soon. Cash flows are king and it is very important for an airline company. So I would just go ahead and say that is a big risk, which I feel like it can happen with airlines. I'm always very cautious, but also that's because if you work in a company sector long enough, you become cynical of that. But yeah, according to you, what are your risks per se? One is this, then second I feel is the dilution, already 70% diluted at this stage. Any other risk that you can think of?
Yeah, see, there is one other risk in aviation, which is something that you were alluding to, right? Which is, so there was this company called Taneja Aerospace, which had a small chartering business too, some 4-5 years ago, and their planes skidded off the runway. And with that, they just shut down their chartering business. Now, I don't know the details, who blamed what, pilots did, but and luckily nothing happened. There was no casualty, but it's a problem with the plane, right? If something goes wrong, it's a problem for AFCOM also. If something goes wrong, a tragedy is a tragedy, and that can be very difficult unless you're Boeing. It can be very difficult to recover from something like that. So I think there is a very core risk there. Generally, risks like fuel and all, my understanding is they get passed on fully. So what they mention is if there's a 5% fuel up or down, it will get passed on to the client. So it's part of the contract. As big a risk, though maybe the cost, maybe there's a chance the demand will reduce. But I think there are some, the core risk will just be the airline risk, certain cyclicality, certain risks with just flying. As much as you are all about safety, if something goes wrong, it goes wrong, and that will be very hard for a private jet kind of player to recover from. So those are definitely things to be wary about. But yeah, I think I'm still a little more bullish overall. Like some of these things are just things you can't control, and you a little bit have to trust that the promoter will take care of it to the best extent possible. And where do you get this kind of growth, 80-90%, at least for the next 2-3 years, coming at reasonable valuations, with proven promoters? So that's the reason I'm personally quite bullish.
Got it. No, makes sense. I would also be applying to this IPO.
Sorry?
I'm saying, yeah, makes sense. I would also be applying for this IPO. It's a no-brainer at the price at which it is coming. But again, those risks are something which need to be looked at. Like I feel airlines in the long term somehow don't do so well. But yeah, that's just me. So with that, we've kind of covered Fly SBS, and we can probably move forward unless anyone has any questions. I see a couple of questions with respect to jets being bad for the environment, and if that is a headwind for the industry. The industry is so niche that I do, and plus it's a essential service, right? End of the day, like people will continue to fly. So I don't feel that is that big of a risk in terms of like how are they covered for tragedies. There would be some insurances, but because these like the numbers are very small, right? The guys doing like the company's doing like 6 planes, something goes wrong and one goes out of service, that hampers your revenue significantly, right? So, and that's the problem with these companies, right? These are operating, airlines operate at Six Sigma level, right? Or even higher. The chances of fatality are so low. But if that happens, then that's the end of that plane, or essentially very bad for the company as well, right? So those are the chances which you are taking, but I'm assuming no investment is risk free, right? So with that, it seems like a good bet. Tanmay, Sachin, do you guys have anything to add, or we can move on to the next company?
Just that for the new aircrafts, hourly utilization will be less, around 65 to 60 hours. And for the already existing ones, they are likely to scale that to 70 plus hours. So they're possibly hitting that 400 CR mark.
Yeah,
That's all.
I'm assuming it would be because of when they start with the new planes, it would take them some time to ramp up, right? And because in this demand
Right.
is also slightly difficult to predict and get, right? So it will take them some time in order to pick up the demand. I'm assuming Rohit would
Right.
have covered that when he was predicting revenue. But yeah, anyways, like
Yeah.
even if it is
So
low.
generally, generally what
Yeah.
they say is that they try to get as much demand ahead of time before the operations go live. Then there's obviously a continuous demand cycle. But when you're adding two new aircrafts, you will, and let's say you're going to add it 2nd of October, you will make sure that for first quarter you have enough. So that is the, I mean, again, it's what they have proven in ASPAC. It's something that they maintain there also. And you're trusting that they will do this again. But they are very confident about meeting demand initially. And then I think as the business is, so, but yeah, there definitely be an initial overutilization. I kind of assumed that already
All right.
for this.
Tanmay, anything to add, or we can move forward to highway infra your company?
No, nothing much to add because everything is, well covered. I just remembering the AFCOM thing, we were very bullish at that point and we even had commented कि यार 4-5 गुना तो हो जाए. Then actually it happened in like less than 12 months if I'm not wrong. 5-6-7 गुना भी हुआ. So expecting, मतलब मुझे पसंद आया, no, it will not go that way because time of a player like AFCOM is like very very large. This has a limited time, but when an economy like India has started going from the developing to the developed part, which takes like roughly 20-25 years, the biggest what we can say achievers or growth sectors are this luxury, ultra luxury, mid premium, or so these segments tend to grow by at least like 2.5 times of the GDP. So I expect that we say that TAM is smaller. Yes, it is smaller, but it's growing at more than enough rate, which would let the company to push that growth which was earlier in the coming future also.
गॉट इट परफेक्ट. उसके बाद आगे बढ़ते हैं. नेक्स्ट कंपनी जो कवर करेंगे वो मेन बोर्ड है, हाईवे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. द ऑर्डर स्लाइटली हेवा है. वी वांटेड टू कवर इट इन like in the schedule in which companies are coming. We'll come back to it. But yeah, setting up highway infrastructure, incorporated in 1995, company is an Indian infrastructure development and management company engaged in tollway collection, EPC projects and real estate development. सो टोलवे वगैरह पे जो पेमेंट होता है उनके लिए ये कंपनी काम करती है. इट स्पेशलाइजेज इन कंस्ट्रक्शन एंड मेंटेनेंस ऑफ रोड्स, हाईवेज, ब्रिजेस एंड रेजिडेंशियल प्रोजेक्ट्स. Setting up the IPO, it's a 130 crore IPO, very very small for a main board IPO. So expect crazy subscription. Don't even look at the subscription, and everything would be free from the fifth IPO to go back into this on 7. So expect out of the whole subscription for the lack of a better word. But 130 करोड़ में से around 97.5 करोड़ का fresh issue है और 33 करोड़ का OFS है. So OFS भी है, 100 करोड़ fresh जा रहा है कंपनी में. मार्केट कैप है जो कंपनी है वो 502 करोड़ है, 502 करोड़ पे कंपनी आ रही है. So they're diluting like close to 26%. FY25 के फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूं तो रेवेन्यू 504 करोड़ था, पैट 22 करोड़ था. सो 22 करोड़ पे 502 करोड़ की मार्केट कैप पे आ रही कंपनी. सो इट्स कमिंग एट लाइक 23p इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग. LM इज पेंटोमथ कैपिटल. मेन बोर्ड है तो 23p भी चलेगा. SME होता तो इंफ्रा ईपीसी करके 12p देते. बट दैट इज व्हाट माय कंप्लेंट ऑफ द सेगमेंट इज. बट या, व्हाट डू यू Tanmay to talk about highway infra?
Is my voice clear?
Yep.
So Highway Infrastructure Limited is an Indore-based toll collection and EPC company. They also have a very, very small and minute chunk in real estate, but that's very, very insignificant. So the company operates and manages tollways, okay, for highway projects which are awarded through the bidding. So as you know, ki apna EPC bidding is like L1. You have to bid with your competitors, and if your bid is the lowest, you get the you are awarded the contract. So the company till now has executed 27 toll management projects, and at current point of time, the company is executing 4. Now you need to understand one thing is these projects are just of 1 year, okay? It's not like your IRB infra जिसका बहुत बड़ा बड़ा toll collection projects है, फिर तो वो पूरा end to end solution है. इसका खाली 1 साल का होता है. Let's say मेरा contract खत्म हो गया तो मुझे similar या फिर किसी और project के लिए फिर से bid करके फिर से जीतना पड़ेगा. So it's not a sticky revenue like IRB kind of a player. So till now in EPC segment the company has executed 66 projects और 4 जो है वो अंडर कंप्लीशन है. बट माइंडवेल की ये जो ईपीसी मैंने आई जस्ट सीन द टिकट साइज, तो इनका टिकट साइज तो मतलब 8-10 करोड़ से लेके 150 करोड़ तक है. सो एंड मेजोरिटी आई वुड से प्रोजेक्ट्स आर इन दैट मोर अराउंड 20 करोड़, 30 करोड़, 15 करोड़. तो ये बहुत बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, छोटे छोटे प्रोजेक्ट्स है. Currently the company has an order book of 666 crores, out of which tollway has 59.5 and 606 is your EPC. Now I'll tell you just revenue split के FY25 में इनका तीनों में से कौन से सेगमेंट का कितना रेवेन्यू था. टोलवे कलेक्शन was 78%, EPC was 20.7% and real estate was like 1.2% approx. This is of the operating level. थोड़ा अदर इनकम भी उस पे अपन बाद में बात करेंगे. Now, one thing which comes in your mind is कि if I'm saying कि tollway 78% है and EPC 20.7% I said, but order book I said कि 666 crore order book में से toll का खाली 59.5 है, which is like 9% only. Now, I'll tell you why is this. तो ये जो टोलवे के आपके प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं ना, इनका बिडिंग चालू होता है फ्रॉम रफली जून, जो जुलाई अगस्त तक होता है, जिसका जो बिड का जो कहते हैं ना आपका अवॉर्डी का जो डिसीजन आता है वो होता है रफली तुम्हारा अगस्त, सितंबर, अक्टूबर एंड पार्टली नवंबर. तो आफ्टर लिस्टिंग वी वुड गेट टू नो कि इसने कौन सा टोल प्रोजेक्ट जीते. एट दिस पॉइंट वी ओनली नो द ईपीसी स्टफ, ठीक है ना. जो ईपीसी का ऑर्डर बुक आई टोल्ड यू दैट इज लाइक 607 करोड़. तो दैट इज लाइक उनका जो टेन्योर है दैट इज लाइक 2 years. तो मान लो रफली बहुत रफ एस्टिमेट ले 50% अभी हो जाएगा FY26 में, 50% FY27 हो जाएगा. सो दैट इज नॉट योर कंप्लीट रेवेन्यू विच विल गेट रिकॉग्नाइज. का रिकॉग्निशन आई एक्सपेक्ट तो पार्ट कंप्लीशन दैट शुड बी केस टू केस, आइदर प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीशन मेथड या फिर रिकॉग्नाइज. जैसे जैसे पैसा आता जाएगा वैसे होते जाएगा. द कंपनी ऑल्सो इंटेंड्स टू गो इन टू हैव विच इज योर एन्युटी मॉडल इन फ्यूचर. उस पर थोड़ा बाद में आ जाते हैं. So, if I'll just read out कि इनका 4 currently कौन से टोल प्रोजेक्ट्स चल रहे which are ongoing. First is your Amravati Chikli. Second is your Sirohi project which is near. I'm not able to get the name of this city. So the second one is Sirohi. Third one is Kiratpur, which is in the highway of Aligarh and Kanpur. ठीक है. And the fourth one is Vishan Kheda, which is Jabalpur and Bhopal. The company is raising 130 crores, out of which 97.5 crore is a fresh issue and rest 32.5 crores an OFS. In the fresh issue, the company is allocating 65 crores towards working capital and GCPS 32.5 crores. तो आई एम नॉट एबल टू गेट कि इन्होंने कैसा स्प्लिट किया, बिकॉज 1/3 इज और जीसीपी एंड 1/3 इज वर्किंग कैपिटल। मे बी ये पूरे इशू का 25% के हिसाब से गणित लगाया इन्होंने पोस्ट रिड्यूसिंग द आईपीओ एक्सपेंसेस। सो दैट इज नथिंग मच टू डू, बट आई फेल्ट कि जीसीपी थोड़ा ज्यादा ही है, कम हो सकता था। I'll come on its financials. FY23, the company did a revenue of 457 crores with a PAT of 13.8 crores. So roughly 3% kind of a PAT margin hai. FY24, the revenue jumped to 576.6 crores. I'm saying total revenue, okay, not from operations. So other income plus total income from operations plus the other income ka total hai 576.6, which is a 26% ka growth. And PAT is 21.4 crores. Okay, so EBITDA is like 6.7% approx. And FY25, the company did a revenue of 504 crores, which is a degrowth of 15%. Okay, 15% से revenue कम हो गया है. And the PAT is 22.4 crores. अभी इनका पिछला साल PAT था 21.4 on 576 crores revenue. और अब इनका revenue 15% घटने के बाद भी PAT is like 22.4 crores था. But इनका EBITDA margin 6.3% only. One will say कि ये क्या है? EBITDA margin has fallen by 40 bips, but the PAT has increased with 15% decrease in revenue. So I'll come at that point after like 1 minute. तो कंपनी आ रहा है एट अ मार्केट कैप ऑफ 502 crores. FY25 पी इनका बैठता है 22.4. I'll tell you कि ये क्या component है. So other income, if you look in the P&L, FY23 it was 1.7 crores, FY24 it was 3.1 and 25 was 8.8. तो ये जो 5.7 करोड़ का जंप है ना, इससे इनके पैट पे आया. तो I'll just tell you कि ये क्या आइटम्स है. फर्स्ट इज सेल ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रॉपर्टीज, जो पहले था 6 लाख रुपए, वो हो गए 2.8 करोड़ हो गया. सो दिस इज लाइक कंप्लीटली अ न्यू आइटम. दूसरा है फॉर फीचर ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस सिक्योरिटी डिपॉजिट्स ऑफ द सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स विच इज 1.8 करोड़. और तीसरा है रिबेट रिन्यूअल डिपॉजिट्स एंड मिसलेनियस इनकम, उसका भी थोड़ा 80 लाख रुपए टाइप का है. नाउ आई विल टेल यू कि ये सारी चीजें मेजोरिटी टाइम्स यार व्हाट वी कैन से वो फिर से नहीं है, दे आर नॉट रिकरिंग इन नेचर. लेट्स से अभी अगर आप इनका देखो तो ये बहुत सारा अपना काम है. इनका कुछ 12 सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर से इनको इन्होंने कुछ 60 करोड़ टाइप का पेमेंट किया है. सो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, जो आपका ईपीसी है ये पूरा सब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करता है. मतलब ये ईपीसी लेवल पे व्हाट आई नो इज की लाइक जो मैं पढ़ के समझ पा रहा हूँ, एसेट लाइट है ऑन द ईपीसी पार्ट, या फिर इनका पार्शियल एसेट लाइट और पार्शियल खुद है. दैट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड, बिकॉज 60 करोड़ के पेबल पे अगर दे आर डूइंग लाइक 100 करोड़ रेवेन्यू, सो दैट इज जस्टिफाइबल, उतना तो होता है. सो टोलवे कलेक्शन में क्या सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग कर रहे हैं, आई हैव नो मेजर आइडिया. वो देख लेंगे, बट आई डोंट एक्सपेक्ट कि मेजोरिटी सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग शुड बी ऑन द ईपीसी पार्ट. सो इफ आई जस्ट एडजस्ट द पैट, ओके, तो इनका जो पैट है आफ्टर डूइंग दैट अदर इनकम का एडजस्टमेंट, वो 22.4 का घट के 19.7 हो जाता है, जो एक्चुअली उससे भी कम है फ्रैंकली. बट दिस हैज बीन मेंशन्ड इनटू वन ऑफ रिपोर्ट जो एसबीआई का आया. तो सो आई नॉट टेक दैट नंबर टू 18, बट आई ट्रस्ट व्हाट दोज गाइस आर डूइंग, बिकॉज शायद उन्होंने कुछ आरपी में से कुछ कंक्लूजन निकाला होगा कि इतना इतना यार इनका एडजस्टेड है, इतना रिकरिंग नहीं है. सो ऑन दैट बेसिस इनका पी बहुत बढ़ जाता है. ओके, ठीक है. सो इनका पी आई गेस कुछ 27 टाइप का है. नाउ कमिंग ऑन द की रिस्क ऑफ द कंपनी. पहला सबसे मेजर रिस्क है कि इनके जो टोल वे के प्रोजेक्ट होते हैं ना 1 ईयर के ही होते हैं, ठीक है. तो आपका टोल मैनेजमेंट का खत्म हुआ तो आपको फिर से बिड करना है, फिर से जीतना है. इनका जो मैंने देखा कि ये बिड का रिस्क विनिंग रेशियो क्या है, तो FY25 वो मतलब रफली एवरेज 15 से 17% है. FY23 में इट वाज 30%, बट आपको पता है वो कोविड के बाद जब पेंटअप हुआ ऑल टोल कलेक्शन, तो दैट इज अ वन टाइम थिंग. फिर वो 17% हुआ, फिर वहां से 15% होगा. सो आई फेल्ट कि 15% विनिंग रेशियो थोड़ा ना कम ही है. मतलब आई वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग कि प्लेयर छोटा है, अंडरस्टैंड, बट 20-25% तो होना चाहिए. एंड आई फील कि ये एक्चुअली ऐसे घटेगा ना कि बढ़ेगा. आई फील 13-14% पे आ जाएगा. तो दो चीज है, पहला आईपीओ आ रहा है, अपने को ग्रोथ करना है, तो बिड करते जाओ टू शो द ग्रोथ टू द मार्केट. एंड सेकंड थिंग इज वर्किंग कैपिटल हाथ में आ रहा है. अभी वो 65 करोड़ का वर्किंग कैपिटल से कितना क्या कर पाएंगे उसका आई हैव सम लेस आइडिया, but hoping that they'll go aggressive in the bidding, but for sure the bid winning ratio is going to go down, जो जनरली होता है इन लोगों के साथ. दूसरा कैश फ्लोस. कैश फ्लो इनका 10.8 करोड़ पॉजिटिव था ऑपरेटिंग लेवल पे इन FY24, जो FY25 -6.6 हो गया. I'll tell you one thing, when you look at the working capital data कि because if you might have checked कि मैंने जब FY25 बोला FY26 कोई नंबर नहीं बोला. The reason is कि इन्होंने वर्किंग कैपिटल का आपको डेटा दिया हुआ है, उसमें दो चीजें है. वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग टू नोट कि इन्होंने जो पब्लिक न्यूज़पेपर एडवर्टाइजमेंट और RSP में जो डेटा दिया है विच वॉज सर्टिफाइड बाय द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स, वो और DRSP का डेटा मैच नहीं कर रहा है. तो आई हैड रेज द क्वेरी एंड आई आस्क्ड टू वन ऑफ द टीम ऑफ द एलएम. तो उन्होंने मुझे ये क्लैरिफिकेशन दिया कि बोले हमारा FY24 तक का स्टैंडर्ड लोन था, 25 में हमने कंसोलिडेशन किया है. जो उनका कुछ तो ईपीसी का नहीं, सॉरी, रियल एस्टेट ईपीसी का कोई तो एक एंटिटी था जिसका 50-50 जेब था, उन्होंने पूरा बायआउट कर लिया, फिर कुछ कंसोल किया, कुछ तो हुआ है. बट फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग मुझसे 20% चेंज हो जाए, बिकॉज आई एम नॉट सेइंग उन्होंने फ्यूचर चेंज किया, दैट इज इन हैंड. बिकॉज लेट्स से मेरा मार्च में आईपीओ हो रहा है, वी वर एक्सपेक्टिंग लास्ट ईयर का हमारा मार्च में आईपीओ और वो हो गया जून में, तो 3 महीने का वर्किंग कैपिटल का डिफरेंस आएगा, तो वो फ्यूचर एडजस्ट हो सकता है. बट इन्होंने इनके चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स का ऑडिटेड चेंज कर दिया बिकॉज कंसोलिडेशन हुआ. सो दिट इज नॉट रॉन्ग, बिकॉज कंसोलिडेशन हुआ, दैट्स अ वैलिड रीजन. बट जितने का डिफरेंस है वो थोड़ा ज्यादा ही लगा मुझे. आई फेल्ट कि वहां पे गैप्स थोड़े ज्यादा है. और अगर आप वो डेटा देखो एंड इफ आई जस्ट चेक कि इन्होंने पिछले साल टोल में 78% किया था और ईपीसी में इन्होंने किया था 20%, 21% रेवेन्यू. और अगर इनका ऑर्डर बुक 600 करोड़ टाइप्स का है, 666 प्रिसाइजली, उसमें से 607 ईपीसी है, उसमें से भी आधा भी ये कर ले, विच इज एक्सपेक्टिंग हो सकता है, इट्स अचीवेबल. 50% ऑफ द ऑर्डर बुक, लेट्स से 2 साल का ऑर्डर बुक है, मैंने 50% पहले कर रहा, 50% विच इज वेरी रीजनेबल. 40-60 होगा, 60-40 होगा, दैट इज लाइक नॉट इन आवर हैंड्स. बट अगर मैंने 50-50 भी बोला तो भी 300 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू होता है. और पिछले साल इन्होंने किया था 504 करोड़ का, खाली 20%, 21%, विच वॉज लाइक 105 करोड़ टाइप्स. और अभी ये 200 की बात कर रहे हैं. एंड ईपीसी में वर्किंग कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट बहुत सिग्निफिकेंटली हायर देन द टोल मैनेजमेंट. तो आई एम नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग 65 करोड़ में ये कैसे करेंगे. बिकॉज इफ आई लुक एट द सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग डेटा, होपिंग लेट्स से 70% उन्होंने ईपीसी में किया 65 करोड़ का, 60 करोड़ का, तो वो गणित होता है 45 करोड़. तो 45 करोड़ का अगर सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग दे रहे हैं और 100 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू निकाल, मतलब डबल हो गया. तो 65 पे तो 130 हुआ. उनका इंटरनल कैश फ्लो मेरे को बहुत अच्छा नहीं लगा, इवन दो टोल मैनेजमेंट बिजनेस है, बट बहुत सिग्निफिकेंटली अच्छा भी नहीं. बिकॉज जनरली दिस बिजनेसेस आर कैश काउ, बट मतलब है, रिजर्व्स है इनके, आई एम नॉट सेइंग नहीं है, बट वो कैश दिख नहीं रहा है, मतलब कि आ रहा है भाई बहुत पैसा, ऐसा दिख नहीं रहा है वो. सो आई फील कि कंपनी ऑलरेडी लेवरेज्ड हो के 75 करोड़ का टाइप का आई गेस डेट है, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, 75-80 करोड़ टाइप का डेट है, 72 करोड़ का प्रिसाइजली. तो आई गेस 9% के हिसाब से, सो दे आर पेइंग रफली 6-6.5 करोड़, 6.5 करोड़ टाइप का इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट दे ही रहे साल का, विच इज लाइक 1/4 ऑफ योर PNL एट पीबीटी लेवल. तो वो तो जा ही रहा है फॉर श्योर. बाकी तो फिर अगर मैं इनका अभी पीयर्स की बात करूं तो इन्होंने दो दिखाया. ओके, फर्स्ट इज योर एचजी इंफ्रा, सॉरी, पहला तो आईआरबी की बात कर लेते हैं बिकॉज दैट इज अ प्रॉपर टोल मैनेजमेंट कंपनी. सो वो चल रहा है 26.8 के पी पे. बट देखो एक चीज यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि उसका रेवेन्यू 7500 करोड़ है और उसका पैट 650 करोड़, इसका रेवेन्यू 500 करोड़ है. मतलब इसका जितना रेवेन्यू उसे 25% ज्यादा उसका पैट है आफ्टर टैक्स. तो कोई यही नहीं है दोनों में, कोई कहते हैं ना, देयर इज नो रिलेशन एटलीस्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ साइज ऑफ द बिजनेस. और वो ना यार, वो प्लेयर ही अलग है ना, आईआरबी थोड़ा अलग टाइप का प्लेयर है. एंड वो चल रहा है 26.8 पे. एंड इफ आई जस्ट चेक कि इसका एडजस्टेड लेवल पे कितना पी है, बिकॉज वो तो रिकरिंग नहीं है जो इन्होंने दिखाया है, तो वो आता है अराउंड 26 का पी. मतलब जिसका रेवेन्यू 7500 करोड़ है, जो ग्रोथ अच्छा दे रहा है, और तो वो चल रहा है 27 पी पे और आप आए हो 25-26 पे एट एडजस्टेड लेवल. वो मुझे समझ नहीं आया. सेकंड इज एचजी इंफ्रा. एचजी इंफ्रा तो प्रॉपर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का कंपनी, टोल मैनेजमेंट इज अ स्मॉल पार्ट ऑफ देयर, बट उन्होंने आरएसपी में दिखाया, सो विल कंसिडर, हु आर वी टू जज. वो चल रहा है 13.6 के पी पे, उसका पैट भी 500 करोड़ है, इसका रेवेन्यू 500 करोड़ है, वो 13.6 के पी पे. और तीसरा है यूएस के इंफ्रा, उदय शिव कुमार इंफ्रा. वो तो खत्म कंपनी है, वो मतलब वो पूरा खत्म ही कंपनी है, तो उसके ऊपर डिबेट करना इज नॉट अ, क्या बोलते हैं, इट्स नॉट अ करेक्ट प्लेटफॉर्म. एंड FY24 में मैं देखूं तो उसका 30 करोड़ का पैट था, तो FY24 पे 6.5 के पी पे ही. और ये उसके हिसाब से अगर मैं इसका FY24 पे कंपैरिजन करूं तो ये कुछ 30 पी टाइप्स पे आ रहा है, 30 नहीं, सॉरी, 25 टाइप्स पे आ रहा है. तो उधर भी कंपैरिजन नहीं, तो ये तीनों से तो बहुत ही महंगा है. आईआरबी एट पार है, आईआरबी 26.8 पे, ये कुछ 26 टाइम पे आ रहा है, और उसका पैट 750 करोड़, इसका रेवेन्यू 500 करोड़. तो कोई कहते हैं ना कोई रिलेशन ही नहीं दोनों में। और इसका सी वन गुड थिंग इन दिस सेक्टर इज कि ANPR जब से आ गए नो, ऑटोमेटिक नंबर जो आपका नंबर प्लेट रिकॉग्निशन, उससे वो आपका फास्टैग वगैरह वो सब, सो उसके वजह से क्या हुआ है, जो वो टोल में चोरी हुआ करता था वो बहुत कम हो गया। एंड इफ आई जस्ट लुक एट देयर नंबर्स, 100 रुपए में अगर मैं टोल कलेक्शन में ले रहा हूँ तो मेरा 5 to 6 रुपीज ही कैश पेमेंट है, बाकी 94-95 रुपीज जो है मेरा वो तुम्हारा ऑनलाइन ही हो रहा है फास्टैग थ्रू। सो वो जो पहले थोड़ी इनकंसिस्टेंसीज हुआ करती थी वो भी नहीं है। एंड इंडस्ट्री इज ग्रोइंग एट 17%, 17.4 precisely for from FY24 to 29, which report is already publicly available. So I felt कि 17% for a industry like toll management actually pretty good. But ये इनके बुक्स में नहीं दिख रहा है। एंड वन वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग आई लुक्ड इनटू दिस कंपनी कि इसका QI भी खाली 30% है। अपना नॉर्मली कैसा होता है कि 50% QI भी होता है, 35% रिटेल होता है, 15% HNI होता है। तो इनके जो है IPO में QI भी खाली 30% है, रिटेल इज 40% एंड HNI इज 30%। आई डोंट नो ये क्यों है, और ये आई गेस DRHP में नहीं था, ये RHP में चेंज हुआ है। इसका दो मतलब हुआ है यार, मतलब I might be judging, but I felt कि maybe demand is not there in the anchor, या फिर कोई अलग रीजन हो, I have no much idea, but certainly इनका day one पे सेलिंग बहुत हैवी रहेगा, that is for sure, because रिटेल 40%, रिटेल 40 में से 39.5% डे वन पे बेच के जाएगा। मतलब दूसरा HNI है 30 में से 28% तो वो भी बेच के जाएगा। तो 130 करोड़ पे वॉट एवर इज द लिस्टिंग इन, उस पर बाद में बात कर लेंगे। बट आई फेल्ट कि 130 में से 100 करोड़ तो डे वन पे ब्लॉक पे आना, इफ इट लिस्ट एट पार। आई एम नॉट सेइंग इट विल लिस्ट, आई एम जस्ट गिविंग एन अजम्पशन। बाकी तो मतलब ऐसा बहुत खास नहीं लगा। वन गुड टू थ्री गुड थिंग्स इज लाइक फर्स्ट, जितना कहते हैं ना लिटिगेशन, टैक्स प्रोसीडिंग्स, क्रिमिनल वाली चीजें इन इंफ्रा कंपनियों पे होती है या फिर टोल वालों पे होती है, उनसे तो ये फार बेटर है। एंड सो दैट हाईलाइट्स अ गुड कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस। I heard to its third promoter, Mr. Dharjan, like 2-3 days back, and I felt the guy was pretty good. वो बाहर से पढ़ाई वढ़ाई करके आए हैं, पेंसिल्वेनिया यूनिवर्सिटी से। आदमी ठीक है, वेरी यंग एंड डायनामिक, ही हैज good hold towards technology and has some very optimistic ideas. So I felt I don't know the rest two promoters, Mr. Anup Agarwal, उनका मुझे कोई आइडिया नहीं, but at least the third promoter is very young, Dharjan, I felt he was a good guy. बाकी तो फिर छोटा सा इन पे 3-4 करोड़ टाइप का कुछ है टैक्स का, बट दैट इज वेरी नॉर्मल इन दिस बिजनेस, सो दैट इज जस्ट अ रिस्क बट नॉट अ नेगेटिव, आई वुड से। सो अभी एक चीज बहुत क्लियर है इसमें, 130 करोड़ का IPO है, 40% रिटेल है, तुम्हारा 30% HNI है, 70 रुपए का प्राइस बैंड है। दिस इज लाइक योर प्रॉपर टिपिकल रिटेलर फेवरेट IPO, छोटा साइज छोटा प्राइस। LMS पैंटोमथ कैपिटल, इसके पिछले 3 IPO क्वालिटी पावर, क्रोनॉक्स, सनस्टार। सनस्टार 1000 करोड़ रेवेन्यू पे 30% का गाइडेंस था, -20% मारा है, वो लिस्टिंग देके बाद में मर गया स्टॉक। क्रोनॉक्स इज डूइंग डिसेंट, गाइडेंस तो वो भी मीट नहीं किया, बट एटलीस्ट स्टॉक इज डूइंग डिसेंट। क्वालिटी पावर तो अलग लीग है, दैट्स वेरी क्लोज टू माई हार्ट। तो आई फेल्ट कि दिस IPO इज जस्ट लिस्टिंग इन प्ले, लगाओ एंड बाद में डोंट डू मच। आई टेल यू द रीजन, अपने को इसका पता ही नहीं इसका रेवेन्यू क्या रहेगा। इफ यू लुक एट द वर्किंग कैपिटल को समझता ही नहीं है, इट लुक्स लाइक, बिकॉज इफ यू लुक एट द वर्किंग कैपिटल वो दिखता है कि सब कुछ डबल है, सब कुछ एग्जैक्ट डबल है, ऑलमोस्ट डबल है। तो आप बोलो कि रेवेन्यू डबल होगा ना, इसमें रीजन है क्योंकि तुम्हारा इंफ्रा जो है वो बहुत बढ़ चुका है। अभी पहले इंफ्रा was 30% और अभी क्लियरली दिख रहा है कि अगर मैं बोलूं कि ये 600 में से 300 भी करेगा और रेवेन्यू लेट से 20% ग्रोथ करेगा, अज्यूमिंग कोई इसका कोई डेटा लॉजिक नहीं है, अज्यूमिंग, तो वो 500 का 600 हो गया, अज्यूमिंग तो 600 में से 300 तुम्हारा इंफ्रा हो गया। सो मतलब बेस्ट ऑफ बेस्ट केस कितना में ग्रोथ मार दे इसका 40% तो इस साल इंफ्रा से ही है, जो पहले 20% था। तो वर्किंग कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर इंफ्रा इज वेरी वेरी हाई। तो आप वर्किंग कैपिटल देके जज ही नहीं कर सकते कि कितना रेवेन्यू करेगा, दैट्स इम्पॉसिबल। एंड द कंपनी इटसेल्फ डजंट नो कि हम कौन सा टोल का प्रोजेक्ट जीतने वाले हैं, उनको सिर्फ बिडिंग पता है, वो भी अभी तक चालू नहीं हुई, जुलाई से चालू होता है इनका बिडिंग। एंड से जुलाई में आउट से 30% प्रोजेक्ट होता है, अगस्त में 30%, 40% हो जाता है, बाकी का 30% जो है वो दो महीने में बढ़ जाता है। सो even the management doesn't know कि हमारा कितना होगा revenue. They might be giving any numbers. I also have the numbers. I have the estimates, but I felt that is like very, what we can say, not a mature thing to share the estimate because उसका कोई बेस नहीं है। तो इफ यू वांट टू कंसिडर इस कंपनी फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म, आपको इसका जुलाई और अगस्त और सितंबर तीनों का जो विंस है फॉर दी टोल वे, वो आपको क्लोजली देख के आपको अपने गणित लगाने पड़ेंगे. सो माई व्यू इज वेरी क्लियर, लिस्टिंग इन के लिए लगाओ और डे वन पे बेच के बाहर. Because you have no certainty towards revenue. I'm not saying company is bad, but मुझे नहीं पता ना कैसे रेवेन्यू होगा. Because स्टिकी रेवेन्यू का 1 रुपए का भी नहीं है, पूरे धंधे में 1 रुपए का स्टिकी रेवेन्यू नहीं है. तो ये जैसा बिड करेंगे, जैसे जीतेंगे, वैसे हिसाब से इनका रेवेन्यू बुक होगा. इस सिमिलर ईपीसी में मेरे को है 300 करोड़ का, बट 500 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू के सामने 300 का मुझे है क्लैरिटी, बट दैट्स नॉट इनफ ना. मुझे तो 550 पे भी आई एम नॉट हैप्पी, बिकॉज 27 पे मैं क्यों लेना जाऊं. अगर मेरे को आईआरबी जैसी इंडिया की लार्जेस्ट कंपनी जिसका पैट इसके रेवेन्यू से 40% ज्यादा है, वो अगर मुझे मिल रहा है 27 पे, तो मैं ईएमआई क्यों 26 पे खरीदू. आई फेल्ट कि यार वैल्यूएशन भी आर आल्सो नॉट. प्राइस टू बुक पे आप देखो, प्राइस टू बुक पे जो आपको ईवीएबिटा पे, सॉरी ईवीएबिटा पे आईआरबी इज एट 13 टाइम्स, एचजी इज एट 10 टाइम्स, ये आ रहा है 18 टाइम पे. आई नो प्राइस टू बुक हैज नथिंग टू डू विद इंफ्रा कंपनी, बट बिकॉज पी आपका बैठने रहा है, तो मैंने खाली देख लिया कि ईवी पे कितना बैठ रहा है, तो वो भी नहीं हो रहा है. तो ओवरऑल इट्स जस्ट एन लिस्टिंग इन अ प्लान, उसके बाद टाटा बाय बाय.
Okay, thanks, Tanmay. काफी डिटेल में कवर कर लिया. I just have one complaint. I shouldn't have done this before क्योंकि बहुत टाइम लग गया. You were covering जो हाईवे इंफ्रा अभी तक तो मैं करके खत्म कर देता है अपनी बाकी दोनों कंपनी. बट यार थैंक यू फॉर कवरिंग इट इन डिटेल. मेरा एक ही क्वेश्चन है, एक वो बीआर गोयल करके कंपनी आई थी टोल वगैरह से ईपीसी सेगमेंट की. फ्रॉम माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज इट इंफ्रा ईपीसी और इज इट ऑल्सो इन टोल? एसएमई की थी एक. इज दैट अ पीयर?
नहीं यार, मतलब व्हाट आई नो इसकी, वो तो खाली इंफ्रा में, बिकॉज आई हैव सीन देयर 2-3 प्रोजेक्ट्स, बट मुझे तो कोई इनका टोल का एंगल नहीं पता. होगा तो आई हैव नो आइडिया, बट
फ्रॉम व्हाट
आई नो
आई
इट्स अ प्रॉपर इंफ्रा कंपनी. और वो अलग है ना, वो मेन बोर्ड एसएमई चीजें अलग है. बट ठीक है यार, फ्रैंकली मुझे तो नहीं लगता पियर है. अगर टोल पे है तो वो हो जाएगी पियर. वो
गॉट इट.
दैट वो जो फाइनल वर्डिक्ट लिखूंगा ना, उसमें आई विल कंसीडर इफ इट इज देयर. बिकॉज मैं खुद ने मैंने चेक नहीं किया है कि कोई ये प्लेयर जो टोल में है, बिकॉज जो आरएचपी में था मैंने वही लिया है. बट व्हेन आई डू द फाइनल वर्डिक्ट आई विल कवर दैट आल्सो. कोई अगर कोई प्लेयर है विच इज आउट ऑफ द आरएचपी, मतलब लिस्टेड है बट नॉट मेंशन्ड इन आरएचपी टुवर्ड्स टोल, विद आई विल बी मेंशनिंग दैट.
They have some portion BR Goel for ham and toll, but not entirely.
And one more small thing actually I forgot to cover in this company was the ham side. ठीक है, the company is intending to go into ham, your hybrid annuity model. And I feel कि the size of the company जितना reserves और cash है इनके, मुझे लग रहा है ham में क्यों जाना, because it increases your margins for sure, but it's a cash flow eating business. Because आप लेट्स से 100 रुपए का प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हो, आपको इसको ओवर द पीरियड 15 ईयर्स, 10 ईयर्स, 12 ईयर्स, 8 ईयर्स रेवेन्यू आना है. आपको पहले साल में 30% मिल जाएगा, बाकी तो आपको एज एन एन्युटी आएगा, और उसमें गवर्नमेंट थोड़ा पैसा लगाएगी. बट दैट्स नॉट एवरीवन्स कप ऑफ टी. आई फेल्ट कि हैम में क्या होगा, आई हैव नो आइडिया. वी हैव सीन सीगल के साथ क्या हुआ. सीगल इंफ्रा आया था, सीगल इंडिया लिमिटेड विच केम लाइक लास्ट ईयर. कुछ नहीं, 30-40% डाउन आईपीओ प्राइस से, इवन दो इट वाज ग्रोइंग एट 40% फॉर लाइक 4 years. तो हैम ने खाया उसको. और दूसरा, मार्जिन बहुत चेंज हो गए आईपीओ के पहले, आईपीओ के बाद. एंड दिस बिजनेस लाइक यार मैन 7-8% EBITDA बिजनेस, 3-4.5% पैट बिजनेस. तो यार नहीं पता मुझे लिस्टिंग के बाद कैसे करेगा. सो आई वुड लाइक इट टू होल्ड आफ्टर लिस्टिंग डे वन पे. पता है मुझे 300 गुना भरेगा, मिलना तो है नहीं है, वो भगवान को भी नहीं मिलने वाला है. बट ठीक है, मतलब मेन बोर्ड आईपीओ है.
Got it. Yeah, with that, we have covered highway infrastructure and we'll move forward. The next company we'll talk about is Jyoti Global Plast. Setting up Jyoti, incorporated in 2004, company specializes in plastic molding solutions and manufactures polymer-based packaging containers. Plastic containers वगैरह company बनाती है. It provides various products such as packaging containers, automotive parts, toys, and drone components, which is a like future story. We'll talk about it. Setting up the company, 35.5 crores का fresh का issue है, out of which 28.5 is a fresh issue and 7 crores का OFS है. कंपनी मार्केट कैप जो ला रही है वो 131 करोड़ पे आ रही है. सो दे आर डाइल्यूटिंग लाइक 30% ऑफ द कंपनी. इन टर्म्स ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल्स, FY25 के फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूं तो इनका रेवेन्यू 93 करोड़ था एंड पैट 6 करोड़ है. सो दे आर कमिंग एट लाइक 22p, 21.5, 22p, which seems high at a starting level per se. But yeah, we'll talk about it in terms of the LM. The LM is Unistore. So with that, let's try and understand and talk about ज्योति ग्लोबल. सो जैसा मैंने बताया, कंपनी मेजरली प्लास्टिक और एफआरपी मोल्डिंग प्लास्टिक प्रोडक्ट्स बनाती है. सो प्लास्टिक प्रोडक्ट्स जो कंपनी बनाती है उसमें 2-3 प्रकार के टाइप्स हैं, जैसे लार्ज पैकेजिंग में ये नैरो माउथ ड्रम्स बनाते हैं, वाइड माउथ ड्रम्स बनाते हैं, जेरी कैन्स बनाते हैं, जो कि केमिकल्स वेमिकल्स रखने के लिए जो प्लास्टिक पैकेजिंग ड्रम्स लगते हैं ना, वो वाले जो ड्रम्स है ये कंपनी बनाती है। और स्मॉल पैकेजिंग में पेल बकेट्स होते हैं जिसमें वो पेंट वेंट वगैरह मिलता है ना अपने को, वो वाले कंटेनर्स बनाती है कंपनी in terms of plastic. It's a very, very old company. It was incorporated in it was incorporated long back, and then they converted it to something like that, because I know that it's a third generation business which the business is being run right now. First and second generation पहले business कर रहे थे, अभी because of the third generation entering there's some story building towards that, but yeah, we'll kind of talk about that when we come to that. बट सबसे पहले इसकी ही बात करते हैं जो कंपनी मेनली अभी काम करती है, अभी तक काम करती है, विच इज दिस प्लास्टिक पैकेजिंग मैन्युफैक्चरिंग। सो केमिकल्स के लिए 50% का रेवेन्यू आता है केमिकल इंडस्ट्री से, लुब्रिकेंट्स एंड इंडस्ट्रियल ऑयल से 15% आता है, विच मेक सेंस राइट, बिकॉज ये लार्ज पैकेजिंग कंटेनर्स बनाते हैं। यूनिट 1 एंड यूनिट 2 फंक्शनल है राइट नाउ, IPOs being done to bring in यूनिट 3। सो यूनिट 1 एंड यूनिट 2 की अगर बात करूं तो उसमें मेजरली वही द कैपेसिटी एट विच दे आर ऑपरेटिंग एट राइट नाउ इज क्लोज टू 88%, 83%, 88, बट कंसिस्टेंटली उतना ही चल रहा है। सो दे आर ऑलरेडी एट ऑलमोस्ट द फुल कैपेसिटी विच दे आर यूजिंग राइट नाउ। जो इनका रेवेन्यू है अराउंड 93 crores, दैट प्रीटी मच इट व्हाट इट कैन कम फ्रॉम यूनिट 1 एंड यूनिट 2, बट दे आर ऑल्सो डूइंग अ कैपेक्स जिससे ये यूनिट 3 बनाएंगे, विच विल एसेंशियली बी द सेम कैपेसिटी एज यूनिट 1 प्लस यूनिट 2, सो डबल कर देंगे अपनी कैपेसिटी। उसके बारे में आते हैं, बट अगेन दैट स्लाइटली लेटर इन द टाइम, क्योंकि FY25 में लाइक FY26 में नहीं बनेगी वो फैक्ट्री, FY26 के एंड में बनेगी यूनिट 3 राइट। तो अभी के लिए कंपनी फुल कैपेसिटी पे ऑलरेडी काम कर रही है, एंड इट्स कमिंग एट लाइक 22 to 83 PE। अब जैसे मैंने बताया 83 टाइप का रेज है जो ये कर रहे हैं। अब इसके बाद इसके फाइनेंशियल्स की बात कर लेते हैं। सो कंपनी ने FY23 में अराउंड 89 crores किया था टॉप लाइन का, जिसमें बॉटम लाइन वो समवेयर अराउंड 2.3 crores। FY24 में कंपनी ने 87 crores किया था, जिसमें बॉटम लाइन वॉज 3.6 crores। FY25 में 93 crores किया है, जिसमें बॉटम लाइन इज 6 crores। सो अराउंड PAT margin is around 6.57% and EBITDA margin is around 13%, which at least at a high level looks slightly higher for a plastic molding manufacturer, because ये बहुत ही competitive industry है, right? There are multiple companies which do this kind of business, right? But and it's been on an increasing trend, जबकि top line has remained pretty much what it is, although you will discount it simply because like IPO आ रहा है, that's when the company wants to show its real worth, so you will kind of agree with that कि चलो ठीक है ये नंबर सही है। So they have done like somewhere around 6 year। The only issue is कि अभी के लिए FY27 में भी at least plastic business से इतना ही टाइप का रेवेन्यू आएगा, probably 10% की ग्रोथ होगी, is what you can kind of consider। Now I'll come to the novel part of this business. Basically, this business, the new promoters, the third generation, who is currently the CFO of the company, Karan Shah, has brought in a new angle where they have also started manufacturing parts for drones and defense, which is what is majorly being defense aerospace, majorly drone parts for defense and aerospace, which is majorly being like sold as the story so far. And the promoter is good. We had we saw a couple of interviews online. There are a lot of interviews online available, by the way, so definitely take a look. It's a promoter who will probably young dynamic promoter who will do well. He has worked at Paras Defense in the past for 2 years basis his LinkedIn profile. So maybe some angle from that, but what they're trying to do is, as I said, getting into defense and aerospace by forming these drone components जो FRP से बनते हैं। So basically plastic में इनकी understanding है। उस वैसे ही plastic के अलावा there's something called the FRP, which stands for, let me just look at it,
Fiber reinforced polymer.
Fiber reinforced polymer. This essentially is a expensive than plastic and is needs some like this is used in all those heavy duty and is light in weight, so it's well used for your defense projects etc. So अगर आप कंपनी का जो order book देखोगे, very interestingly, they are saying that they have multiple orders for defense and aerospace with an order book of 21 crores, which they have to execute sometime over the year and a half per se. So that is what the story is. कि company अभी तक plastic containers करती थी, but अब they will start doing defense and aerospace, and they have said that they have already completed a few orders, but billing नहीं हुई है उसकी किसी की भी. So आप DRHP में देखो, RHP में देखोगे तो कुछ भी जो revenue share है FY25 तक, nothing is coming from defense and aerospace. Everything is those containers. But FY26, that mix will change. That mix will become like 20% of that mix will become defense and aerospace drone parts. तो अभी drone में parts क्या क्या बनाते हैं? So they majorly manufacture these connectors, which are your precision molded components. So इनमें according to the promoter, these molded components are like they have 100 grooves at times, so it is difficult to be able to manufacture them. Like that is their mode. It's a technical product, and FRP को use करना भी, the labor is slightly like, because it's an expensive product and expensive raw material, so labor need expertise in terms of labor. The machines through which they use are not available in India. They have imported from outside, and then most of it is majorly relationship, because of which they are able to win these orders per se. And connectors बनाते हैं ये जो use होते हैं. And then they also manufacture drone parts, which are again made through these FRPs, and they will supply these to different defense companies per se, and they have like 2, 3, 4 multiple orders which will start hitting in. So that's with respect to the story behind why probably a higher valuation is justifiable. But again, what we need to consider is it a different story? Because end of the day, like these are components, like probably hardware or like plastic like replacement of a plastic hardware which is going into a drone. This has nothing to do with, let's say, a software or anything which is like molded in terms of like कि कुछ उसका design है which can't be made. I think there will be multiple players who either will be able to make these FRP parts or would be able to figure out how to make these FRP parts. So most of it will come down to your relationship with these vendors. But having said that, this business in itself will be a higher PAT margin business. अभी तक जो है वो EBITDA 12% type मिलता था, जो current mix है. Now the mix will change towards getting a higher EBITDA margin of close to 20-25%. So that mix will start changing, and that mix will look interesting. और जैसे मैं IPO की बात करूं, तो company is bringing in their IPO in order to like do 35 crores का IPO, जिसमें से 11 CR will be used for establishing a new manufacturing facility. जैसे मैंने बोला कि वो double कर देंगे अपनी capacity को. So that should help in. But that would only be done in March of 2026. So FY27 story है वो. FY26 में they will continue to operate from their 2 units, Unit 1 and Unit 2. Then they will be putting up a solar power plant, which is again interesting. 9 CR का solar power plant है. And they said, they're saying that when it goes live, this will be able to save them a cost of close to 3 CR. क्योंकि इनका इलेक्ट्रिसिटी मेजर कंपोनेंट है, विच इज लाइक 7% ऑफ ऑल कॉस्ट ऑफ रेवेन्यू गोज इनटू इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. तो जब ये पावर प्लांट आ जाएगा, अगेन FY27 मार्च ऑफ 26 में कमेंस हो जाएगा, तो दे विल बी एबल टू सेव दैट 3 CR ऑफ कॉस्ट, विच विल अगेन हिट द टॉप लाइन पर से. सो फ्यूचर just in terms of the current segment looks good कि now that the segment is changing, because अगर आप प्लास्टिक कंपोनेंट्स वगैरह वाली बात करो तो कंपनी बहुत ओल्ड है, हैज बीन ग्रोइंग वेरी वेरी स्लोली. पिछले 3 साल का रेवेन्यू लगभग बराबर है. टॉप लाइन इज कंसिस्टेंट, मोस्ट ऑफ द ग्रोथ इज फ्रॉम बॉटम लाइन, विच अगेन रेजेस क्वेश्चंस, राइट, कि आगे वो सस्टेनेबल रहेगा कि नहीं रहेगा. इवन इफ यू टेक इट कंसिडर सस्टेनेबल, the story is essentially, I feel, already baked in at around 22 PE. Although for some reason, इसके जो भी मैं peer देख रहा था, they tend to get a very high valuation. Like कंपनी ने TPL Plast, Pyramid Techno, Mitsuchem Plast, ये जो प्लास्टिक वाले कंटेनर्स हैं उनको दिखाया है अपना peer, which trade somewhere around 23 to 26 PE. This guy is coming at 22. So in a way, if you think कि वो PS सही है, तो they are coming at the valuation of that plastic player, plastic manufacturers player, and then you need to see how much valuation do you want to add to those drone components, etc., which these guys are making. I would probably not add a lot, honestly. because these are not very high value added parts which cannot be manufactured from outside. But again, these will be used in defense, these will be used in aerospace. So there will be some story basis that it is up to you on how you want to value those parts. In terms of the IPO per se, I don't think like IPO valuations could have been slightly lower. That's also saying that because like inka raise jo hai, that's around 21, 22 CR only, and then there's a lot of GCP, which if it was slightly lower, I would have been slightly more comfortable, and that probably changed from DRHP to RHP. Like DRHP में भी आप देखोगे तो there was no mention of drones etc. But they had put in a pointer saying that since there's no revenue from it, they couldn't mention it in DRHP, but they have put it now in RHP, and DRHP में future looking में उन्होंने डाला था कि this is what might come. So again, it's a future story. You might want to consider saying, will market give it a defense P? Probably not, most likely not, because these are end of the day plastic component parts which are being manufactured. Will it get a P slightly higher to your plastic component players? Probably yes. So that is the story. It is coming pretty much in line with how plastic components kind of trade at. In terms of अगर FY26 की बात करूं तो they are saying somewhere around 9 CR of PAT is what will come in, because margins will start, the margin profile will mix will start getting better because these defense orders will start hitting in. So basis that it's at like 16p. So I think there is scope of like, let's say even if the market values it at FY26 so early, there's scope of 20 to 25%. But let's see. I think the market will be tentative because again nothing has been shown, so they would want it to come in the books. Having said that, if it opens somewhere around flattish, can be taken a bet for a slightly long term. I would still apply to IPO to try and see to maybe just buy one and hold for a slightly longish term. Listing gains पता नहीं होंगे कि नहीं होंगे. Anchor book looked very average, nothing great in terms of what stood out for me. The valuations, had they been slightly lower, I would have been more comfortable. But at these valuations, I don't think they have left a lot on table in terms of listing gains, honestly, unless the market realizes and starts giving it a defense P, which is then everything is out of question. But I don't know if they will. But majorly once FY27 hits in, that's when that 9 CR will go up a lot, because you will have solar power plants savings coming in. You will have the new unit kicking in, which would be majorly for defense and aerospace. So if the story works, it's a good story to hold. My only question is again very similar to Bhadora, where it's a long gestation period, and if the market loses interest, it just loses interest in these SMEs very, very fast. So be careful of that part. But I would be applying to this IPO for just one lot, essentially, just to be able to hold and track this story. So that is what my review was of Jyoti Global Blast. Sachin and Tanmay, you guys have anything to add?
Nothing major. Go ahead, please go ahead.
No, nothing much. Just that they are at the lower end of the value chain of the defense currently, and being priced so higher doesn't suit. So I'll be personally skipping.
So I had read it, not in much depth, but decently. So I'll be, more reading towards the, I would say it's less defense but into drone. So देखते हैं मतलब क्या valuation पे कहाँ बैठता है. I haven't checked it much, but if they have some concrete orders, if they have done some billing in H1, that might fetch a premium. But यार already if I'm not wrong 22-23 P पे आ ही रहे हैं. मतलब ये अगर 15-17 टाइम पे होता तो यार अपन सोचते कि at least if even though if the story is not panning out, there's nothing to lose. Or TPL Pyramid to where I remember it's a mainboard company, or वो it's कितना well equipped है, it has good capital with it. So वो तो अलग है. TPL का I have no idea. So I felt कि सस्ता हो सकता था अगर 15-17 टाइम पे होता तो एक बेट ऑन से बेट, बट एक कंफर्ट होता एटलीस्ट कि यार अगर मेरे बेट गलत भी चलेगा तो आई हैव नॉट मच टू लूज. एंड देखते हैं मतलब, एंड ऑल्सो द एलएम इज यूनिस्टोन, एंड वो देखना पड़ेगा बिकॉज वो बैंकर के थोड़े इश्यूज जहाँ पे मोमेंटम होता है बहुत अच्छा करते हैं और थोड़ा बहुत बुरा करते हैं. तो somewhere like medium kind of a banker. So dekhte हैं how things pan out. But I'll be reading more into the defense part. If it suits well, might communicate that. But as of now, I felt कि it's on a bit higher side. सस्ता हो सकता था.
Yeah, that is what I also felt. Had they left slightly more space. Because end of the day, these guys have confirmed POs from what I understand. At least POs वगैरह हैं because they have orders and they have put it in their order book saying that these will be executed, right? But again, my problem is it's not like the value chain of those drone parts is not very high, right? So it is possible to be to be able to do that from somewhere outside as well, right? So I don't think the market will re-rate the P to that level is what my pointer is. But yeah, I would also probably just apply a couple to be able to hold one for a long period of time, but not. And again, I'm not 100% sure as well. We'll see. Because this is coming on 6th and there are lots of IPOs on 6th and 5th is when Flysbs is. So we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, with that, maybe we'll just very quickly move forward to the last company for the day, which is Path Electricals. Heading up Path Electricals, established in 2007, company is a manufacturing entity specializing in electrical equipment. The company offers products such as medium voltage switchgear panels, vacuum circuit breakers, earth link boxes, control and relay panels, and compact substations. So switch gears वगैरह panels वगैरह की बात करते हैं. Somehow I remember Shivalik, which had a lot of hype when it had came, but then didn't justify. But from my understanding, this is slightly higher in the value chain compared to Shivalik. We'll try and understand how. In terms of the IPO size, it's a 50 crore IPO. 50 crore का IPO है, all of which is a fresh issue. Company 232 crores के market cap पे आ रही है, so around 20% dilute करी है. And then there's some pre-IPO done right before, which helps in order to maintain the 26% dilution. FY25 के financials की बात करूँ तो company ने revenue 176 crores का किया है और PAT 10 crores का किया है. So they are coming at like 23 PE, which seems high. Is the consistent story for the day other than Flysbs, it seems. And in terms of the LM is Horizon Management. So with that, over to you, Sachin, to talk about Path and then Tanmay, anything to add?
Am I audible?
Yep.
All right. So, Path Electricals and Engineering, it was actually founded in 2005 and then commenced in operations in 2007. They primarily operate in medium voltage segment in the T&D sector. So, Mr. Jignesh Patel is at the heart of the business and he has prior work experience from Siemens and Jyoti Limited for both services and products in this medium voltage segment. So currently, 93% of the revenues is from manufacturing and rest from services and EPC. In the parts that they manufacture, 75% of revenues come from a ring main unit, which is RMU. So in simple terms, RMU is like a traffic controller, which helps distribute electricity, check for faults and ensure reliability of electricity from main supply to various end users. Not entirely a new thing, but it is seeing rise in demand due to the underground systems being laid. 6% of revenues comes from those switch gears, which is similar to RMU, but for primary distribution. That is from main substation to smaller distribution point. Rest 8% of the revenues come from other items like compact substations, which combine different electrical components in a space efficient and reduced manner. And then there is also control and protection relay, which ensures safety and optimal asset utilization. So they also have some specialized solutions for low voltage, and they also do EPC for underground cable laying up to 220 kV, and overall services they also provide up to 400 kV separate from the EPC work. Currently 10% exports, and they have some US only certifications as well, so they will use that to further increase these exports. Domestic clients include Reliance, Tata, Torrent, Getco, UGVCL, etc. They also have tech transfer agreement from Beijing Hezong for gas insulated switchgears up to 41 kV, and Schneider. So Schneider, they have a long relationship. Schneider is their client as well as Path acts as distributor for this ring main units and compact substations. So Path is majorly getting benefited from this RDSS scheme, just like Bhadora and the Smart City initiative as well. More so when all of these products are customized on as and when needed by the customers. And Path also has a good share in Gujarat, with almost 50% of the RMU being supplied by Path for the Gujarat demand. Currently they employ around 250 employees. They already are setting up a skill and training center which will add around 300 employees more. So this will commence in September 25, and this is done to enhance their skilled manpower, which is currently one risk that they are seeing. Their facility is around 70,000 square meter in Gujarat with 90% average utilization. This can be further scaled to 110% using additional shift, and they have recently upgraded their RMU capacity as well as the switchgear capacities. So that will help for this year. They also have set up an in-house power coating facility for fabrication of these items that they do. So that is also made in-house currently. Now coming to financials, in FY23 they did 65 CR of revenues, 7% EBITDA. In FY24, 87 CR of revenues, 11% EBITDA. Now in FY25 they received a pre-IPO funding from White Pine PMS in around July 24, around 15 CR, and that helped them to jump the revenues to 175 CR with similar EBITDA and 6% PAT. Currently 123 CR of order book they have, which is fully executable in FY26. In this also includes one export order from USA for the RMU parts and the compact substations. So they are projecting around 30 to 35% growth in the current year from manufacturing and more focus on the services as they go ahead. They also received a ratings upgrade from CARE Ratings recently in the Q1 FY26 as they repaid more debt. The receivables are contained in the balance sheet. Cash from operations are also positive. Coming to risk, raw material prices and their availability like aluminum, copper, wires, sheet metal, which is a major raw material from them, that is a risk. Skill scarcity of manpower, as I discussed earlier, and revenue concentration around Gujarat, where they have around 90% revenues currently. So they are trying to diversify. Now coming to IPO, around 20 CR is for the gas insulated switchgear facility, which will use the SF6 gas, which is a better insulated material. So that will help them to make these new GIS products. And it is expected to come live by March 26. Another 19 CR is for the Odisha facility, where they're trying to increase their presence in Odisha and South and those areas, which is expected to come live around Q2 of FY27. And rest 15 CR is for repayment of short-term borrowings with around 9% rate of interest. So that will help in the PAT margin. Now coming to the pricing of IPO, the pre-IPO has good names. Vari Family Office has joined, Polycab has joined, Uno Minda has joined, and these are all joined in the recent May to June 25. So they took stake at rupees 170 per share, similar to the IPO price. Some share transfer also took in July to meet that minimum public dilution. And because of this extra dilution before IPO and all this pre-IPO funding done, the issue optically looks higher at 23 times, even though the IPO price and the pre-IPO price is same. So comparable peers that they have mentioned in the RHP are not actually comparable because they do not have much presence in the RMU part. There are some non-listed peers like Megawin is there, CSEC Technologies is there. So they are more into RMU. Megawin did 170 CR of top line in FY24. CSEC did 191 CR of top line, and both operate similar EBITDA margins like Parth. So these are more comparable. RMC switchgears is slightly comparable because they have switchgears there, and it trades near 24 times. Other bigger peers are Schneider in ABB, but they operate in high voltage, so not comparable with Parth at the moment. And they trade north of 60 times, so that is not a right comparison. Lead manager here is Horizon. It was a hit and miss earlier, but it's slowly gaining reputation in this FY. Anchor came in decent with Capri Global, India Max Investment, and one Beaconstone VCC fund is also there. The quality of RHP must be appreciated because they are giving all sorts of details, product-wise operating margins, product-wise peers, fund utilization details, even for the private placement that happened a year ago. And they have given some case studies where how Parth faced difficult projects and how they managed to handle them. They have also mentioned some contingency fund from the IPO proceeds that they are trying to get. So that will be around 5 CR of contingency funds. They are literally said that they are there, and if the contingency is not met, they will be used in other purposes. So for the final verdict, the backing of those investors is good. Their reputation is also good. So we'll be applying, but just keeping in mind that the starting valuations in this year especially will not be good, as the growth in this year may not be similar to the last year when they did around 100% of growth. That not might be repeated in this year. So that is about it.
Got it. And you're saying this is a slightly novel segment, so no peers as such which can be compared to. Like obviously, the Finless of the world are not a peer, and because
Right.
it's like lower in capability, but then Shivaliks of the world are also not a player.
Shivalik endorsed the deal in LT and HT panels, whereas Parth deals in RMU. So completely different products, so not comparable.
Got it. So how do you value this? But yeah, that's something which everyone's like best guess is. Tanmay, do you have anything to add on that?
No, nothing much to add. It's covered pretty well. Actually, personally like the company, and I felt it's a good bet.
Got it. I will see. I again like feel that the value had it been slightly cheaper would have left something on the table. But a lot of companies right now are coming fully priced in, which is a lot of like which is a common concern across a lot of times. But yeah, maybe we just don't get it right. Yeah, so that is what our review is with respect to Path. We've kind of covered all the companies that we had to. We haven't covered knowledge realty really. But we'll see. Maybe if we read it, we'll kind of post our review. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining. We'll be back next week with a few other issues. There are some interesting issues, but it seems that next week would probably be on the lighter end with not a lot of big names other than, say, a JSW Cement. We'll see if anything else comes up. Oh, JSW, yeah, JSW is ending on 11. So, yeah, we'll definitely cover JSW next week. But other than that, we'll see if any other big raises are announced or good raises are announced. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We'll see you back next week.
I'll comment one thing. I got a chance to read JSW Prime Office. If I had read for like 2 hours, it'll do one thing. This review will be like minimum 30, 40 minutes minimum. It should be a big comprehensive because
कोई
it's
पे
such
9
a
बजे
tough
नहीं
company.
करेंगे. We will do it earlier then because it gets very late.
हाँ हाँ 9 से 12 मतलब
नहीं
एकदम
नहीं मेरे को नहीं
क्योंकि
करना चाहिए.
ऑल टाइम इज ऑल्सो लाइक आई फेल्ट इट्स अ गुड कंपनी बट बहुत नहीं पढ़ा बट मेरे को ऊपर से तो ठीक ही लगी बिकॉज दैट विल ऑल्सो टेक सम टाइम एसएमईज ऑल्सो शुड टेक सम टाइम बट आई विल टेल वन थिंग दैट जेएसडब्ल्यू ना मतलब इट्स हेड स्क्रैचिंग काइंड ऑफ अ कंपनी 3-4 घंटे बैठने के बाद भी समझ नहीं आएगी बट एंड फॉर श्योर एवरीवन शुड वेट फॉर द फाइनल वर्डिक्ट एंड द स्पेस एंड शुड नॉट यू नो take a decision towards looking the premium because premium could confusion. I am expecting the confusion should increase from tomorrow.
Perfect. With that, we'll come back next week. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Have a good night.
Thank you.